It's another Sunday. Let me make my poll. Did you tell me? I can't spell. Did you tell me something you learned recently? And give this video a like. Yes, sir. Yuppers. I'll do it now. All right. We'll give it a little bit of time and let the members of this community join the live chat. $59. I got my laptop right here. Also, I'm not gonna be able to stay on for a super long time tonight. I got a lot of studying to do. I gotta take an exam next week, next Wednesday. Not this coming Wednesday, but the Wednesday after that. I've taken the exam before and I've passed it before, but it's one of those things that, you know, you kind of brain dump this stuff. Not completely brain dump, but it's relevant stuff for my job, right? It's a strength and conditioning exam, but the exam is like actually harder than your job because it requires you to know a lot of science, right? In real life, I tell people what to do. I say, hey, we need to do this. You need to eat this food. You need to lift this weight. For the test, you have to explain, you know, how a muscle contracts, you know, what happens when you work out too hard and don't take enough rest, like the actual physical, like biochemistry that happens, which you don't ever have to do in real life. Like, I don't need to tell my athlete, hey, you don't have enough glucose. Like, I don't have to do that. I just say, hey, you need to take 3 minutes, not 30 seconds. Cass, what's up? Braden, hi, how you doing? Kevin, whoa. Why you say whoa, bro? That's scary. I'm scared now. Like, I'm thinking you saw somebody behind me. Lexi, what's up? Does anybody have an April birthday? Does anybody share a birthday with me? I'm not gonna tell you when my birthday is. You can tell me when yours is if your birthday's in April, and I'll tell you if we share the same birthday. You learned math. How old are you? Kevin, my day was good, man. I got some hill sprints in early, then I went boxing. Then I studied for this exam that I have to take in a couple weeks or in a week and some change, and now I'm on my phone. And I'm gonna study again. Braden, let's keep that stuff out of the chat. We're not doing that. What's the exam on? It's just a strength and conditioning certification. I've had it before, but I gotta do it again because I let it expire. So it's required to do my job. It's a very difficult test. It's extremely difficult. I think in 2023, I don't know the stats for 2024. In 2023, I think there was only a 37% pass rate or 40% pass rate. So a lot of people failed it. I'm actually such a vibe. I'm not even doing nothing. I'm just sitting here. I'm big chilling. What y'all got going on in y'all life though? Kevin, how was your day? I answered your question, so you tell me how your day was now. It was good. Did you do anything special or are you just chilling? se maltrata, se puso bella. Ahora te la quiere y no te quiere y ya. What kind of dog you got, man? And did you take your dog to go running today? Dogs need to run, man. Unless your dog's disabled. I don't know. I think it's rude when people have big dogs and they don't exercise them. Those dogs are meant to be running around. Like a German Shepherd, yeah, that joint needs to be running, bro. My mom has a German Shepherd. I lived with that thing for a couple of months, maybe 2 months. Unlimited energy levels. And I literally would be telling her, like, hey, he needs to go outside sometimes. Like, he needs to play. He can't sit in the house all day because he's a big dog and supposed to be a working dog. Those dogs are bred to work, bro. They were not bred to sit in the house. Boop, 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 boop. Megetsu Himeka, I don't know what that says, sorry. And I don't have a way to translate it. Have a big backyard and it's fenced in. They run around and mess with my chickens. That's good. German Shepherds were bred for herding, so I guess that's similar. If it's chasing something around, it would satiate the dog, satisfy its instinctual desires. Where do you live at that you have a big backyard and it's fenced in? You must live in the South, because nobody up north has a big backyard. Arkansas. Little Rock or somewhere else? I don't know anywhere besides Little Rock, so. Dun, 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 dun. Megetsu, I don't speak this language, bro. You know what? Let me get on my laptop and see if I can find a way to translate this. And if it's some BS, I'm blocking you. Because this is about to take a lot of effort from me. Let's see. What I'll do is I'll go to my own channel, click on my channel, and I'll copy and paste your comment. Hot Springs, never heard of it. That's probably a good thing. That means you're in a nice, quiet place, not being bothered by outsiders. Okay. Now that I'm here, let's see if we can copy his comment. Copy. Now I'll go to Google. Translate. Oh, you said, do you understand my language? No, I don't understand your language. It's on a lake and it has a lot of rich people. I had to sneeze. A lot of rich people. And are these people rich from farming or is it just like random? I don't know anything about hot springs, but usually rich communities, they kind of all have a similar thing that they do. So I'm wondering, is there something going on in hot springs or is it just a bunch of people that got rich doing random stuff that choose to live together? Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. But that's nice, man. They had an airplane and they landed on the water? Hmm. Sounds rich to me. Are you rich too, or you just live near rich people? You have to be rich to live near rich people. I don't think you can be poor and rich people would allow you to live near them. Especially if you got a big backyard, it's fenced in. You got to have some decent wealth, in my opinion. I mean, yes and no. That's exactly what a wealthy person would say. I'm guessing you're going to say you have some possessions, but maybe, I don't know, maybe you don't have a bunch of cash. But you got a nice house. You probably got a decent car. You're probably not financially worried, right? Maybe it's your family. Rolando, what's up, bro? You finally here early. You own a fence company. I don't think I've ever met someone that has owned a fence company. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I think it's pretty amazing that you really don't think about anything that you have. Like I don't think about the blinds on my window or like who made my fence out for my backyard. I just know that I have a fence in my backyard. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. Someone makes everything, someone knows how everything works. Like it's crazy. XXX Tentacion is GOAT. You gotta be, I'm gonna guess 15 years old. But yo, what's up? Haven't you seen that picture of wealth disparity in Brazil? The favela on the left and the high-rise condos on the right. Um, that was a random thing to bring up, but I don't. Maybe I don't know. That seems like a very specific picture that you're talking about. I could have seen it. I could have not. I've seen a bunch of pictures like that, to be honest, from different countries. Usually has some kind of caption about this is what communism does to a country or something like that. But I'll type it in on Google and see if I see the one that you're talking about. Favela, wealth, disparity. I mean, this picture's called Inequality in a Photograph, so I'm gonna guess this is the picture that you're talking about. But yeah, that I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty crazy. Like, it's like literally like broken down shacks, and right over the fence is a big ass tennis court, pool, high rise condos with pools on each floor of the condo. Yeah, that's nuts, bro. I was trying to explain. Oh, you brought it up because I said you got to be rich to live near rich people. While I was actually talking about America, I feel like it's a little bit different, especially in the South, because you live in Houston. For the most part, in the South, we have very, very segregated places, and I'm not talking about racially, even though you could go there, but I'm just saying. Like where I live in the suburbs, and this is not rich, but it's not poor. But there's not poverty next to us. You have to drive a good distance, uh, you know, to get to poverty. You have to drive a good distance to get to real wealth too. Those like the rich people in the hills, they don't live near us, bro. And the poor people don't live next to us either. It's all separated. So if you live in those hills, with the big ass golf course and stuff, I know you have money. Like you can't live up there and be one of us regular people. So uh yeah. How was the deep freeze? I actually wasn't here for that. I actually was in another state at the time. I see you retracted the message, but I read it before you retracted it. So, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Rolando. Outside of the South, it's a little bit different. And that's what I would tell. That's what I tell my wife all the time. I didn't like Washington for that reason. Like you could be in a good neighborhood and like literally like two streets over, they're like, "Oh, that's the hood." I'm like, "What the? Why are we right next to it, bro?" Like, that's too like everything's right next to each other because they're not big states, and there's just not a lot in between it, you know. So it's just different. And like in these other countries, like you just said, the favelas will be right next to this, and um, you're just never far away from crime. It's just totally different. What part of Austin and San Antonio is dangerous? To be honest, man, I can't tell you. I stay away from danger, bro. Like I don't go to the hood for any reason. I don't associate with that shit because I don't have a reason to. You know what I mean? And I've been out of San Antonio for so long that I can't even remember. I just remember when I was there. I would say, you know, what parts is bad stuff happening in that, so I cannot go there. You know, San Antonio is pretty, or it was. I can't speak on it now. It was pretty segregated. So they'll say, oh, this is the Mexican side, this is the black side, and yeah, just just stay out of trouble. What parts of Seattle is hood? I never go to Seattle. I lived in Washington for 6 years, and I went to Seattle like three times ever, bro. One time was for a Daddy Yankee concert, so it was like there and back. One time was uh before my wife was my wife. It was to go visit her, and that was a straight trip. And I was not like I was getting harassed by homeless people just when I drove up there and parked my car, bro. So I didn't really go to Seattle, bro. So I couldn't tell you. Like I said, I don't know nothing about Seattle like that, bro. So you didn't live in Seattle? No, I didn't. I've never lived in Seattle, bro. I lived in Renton and DuPont, which are both like on one side of Tacoma, but you got to travel a little ways to go up to Seattle. And Seattle is way too city for me, bro. I'm not a city boy. I don't like big cities. I told Rolando that I don't like going to Houston or Dallas. It is too much crime, bro. Too much random stuff that could happen. Like where I live at, bro, you got to go out of your way to see crime. It could happen, and like I know, like if I told you where I live at, you'd be like, "What? I see this city on the news all the time." But it's deep in the city. It's not here. I don't go to the places where that stuff happens. Was Tacoma dangerous? It has its problems. It's not dangerous to me like New Orleans or Detroit or Chicago. It's more like if you have anything in your car is gonna get broken into. Like literally, I got my car broken into at the gym that I worked at, bro. There was nothing in my car. Somebody just went through the parking lot, busted out all the windows, and just tried to get all the stuff in everybody's cars. There's just a lot of meth heads and homeless people walking around at all times in Tacoma. So there's nowhere where you will be like, oh, you're good here in Tacoma. Nothing happens here. It's everywhere in Tacoma. There's always meth heads walking around. There's always people looking to bust your windows out or steal your car. So that's Tacoma. But it wasn't danger. I never like there was not one time in like all the time that I lived there like I felt like I was gonna get shot or something like that. So I did like that. I didn't ever feel like I was in the proximity of like gun violence or something. Philadelphia, cities like that, you might get shot for no reason. You know what I mean? You remind me of the Houston guys who moved to Conroe. Yeah, you know what, man? I got some friends that live out there. So, but yeah, I'm not a city dude, man. My whole family's country. I like living in the suburbs. If I wasn't in the suburbs, I would want to live on a farm. You know what I mean? I don't like the city. I don't like any cities, but some cities are worse than others. Some cities are worse than others. Houston is one of those cities, bro. Houston has a serious problem. Uh, I don't know the proper term, but when you let people out on I don't know if it's bail or bond. I don't know the difference, to be honest. I really don't know. It doesn't matter. The problem is in Houston, you could murder somebody and you could post whatever the word is. You could pay and get out and kill somebody else. It happens all the time. You could look it up. Houston is like the worst city in the United States for that. And like so, there's people charged with capital murder that are walking the streets, and they probably know they're gonna get cooked on their court date. So they really don't care about what they're doing. Like they don't care about robbing you or whatever. Like they know eventually they're gonna go back to jail and it's gonna be for life. I don't want to be around people like that, bro. I seen videos of jackings going wrong where they just shoot people for no reason. I'm like, bro, you gonna take my stuff and kill me, bro? Like, just take the car, bro. Albuquerque's bad? That's interesting. I didn't know that. I don't know anything about Albuquerque, to be honest. But to me, any city's bad. That's what I'm saying. If you live in a big city, or like a city, really, it's gonna be bad. Because of what me and Rolando were talking about earlier, cities always have wealth disparity. That's where any products move through. So there's always ports and if you want to sell stuff illegally, you're gonna do it in the city. You're not gonna go to a farm. You know what I mean? Because who are you gonna sell it to? So cities are always flowing with illicit activity, and that causes violence usually. So, like I said, I like to stay away from there as much as I can. I was there and a lot of homeless and jaywalking. Well, I mean, jaywalking is just, that's nothing really, but I mean, maybe that's a bigger crime than other places. I don't know. I jaywalk all the time. But yeah, man. Cities are cities. The other thing about cities too, and this is starting to just become America, period. But in the city, you got a lot of different people, and there's a lot of people, and everyone doesn't know each other. So it's real easy to commit a crime and have no connection to the person. Crimes happen in places like this. Crimes happen in small towns. But usually they're not very crazy crimes because everyone knows each other. So you wouldn't want to hurt this person. If you did want to rob a store or something, you wouldn't want to kill anyone because you probably know them or you know stuff like that. Or just it's just different. Everyone knows each other. But like I said, this is becoming America, period. Like growing up, I knew most of my neighbors. I don't really know any of my neighbors. This is a safe place, but we should be a closer knit community. I see them all the time, but we don't really talk. And so that invites a different vibe, you know. Like when I lived in Colombia, bro, everybody talked to everybody. If you were outside, you couldn't walk past people without greeting them. So when there's someone that's new or not from there, it's very obvious, and it's like, hey, what are you doing here? What's going on? Not in a rude way, but like, hey, how's it going? Like, let's talk. So you couldn't sneak into that neighborhood and commit a crime. Like everyone would be on guard because it's like you're not from here. If someone walked down this street right now that I didn't know, I'll be like, is this the neighbor's son? Is this someone that I know? I don't know because I don't talk to them enough. And it didn't used to be like that, but I don't know. Everything's just different now, man. But that's why I like small towns. That's why I like less populated places because there's more of a chance that you guys be in a tight knit community. You know what I mean? And that stops a lot of bad stuff from happening. or even, when I was a kid, if I thought about doing something, I would be like, if my parents weren't home, I'm like, oh, whatever, I'm gonna have a party here, which I would never do. But if I thought that, I'm like, hell nah, bro. My neighbors would tell my parents I'll get fucked up when they come home. So that's the importance of having a community, like knowing that your neighbors would tell your parents. Your neighbors might discipline you back in the day. Now you obviously can't do that, but back then, your neighbors, your teachers, they could whoop your ass, bro. So I still remember when I was about 7 years old in Virginia, my dad whooped my best friend's ass. That was normal back then. He wasn't listening. We were being bad. He whooped both of us. If you do that shit today, you'll go to jail, bro. I probably shouldn't even say that. I'm gonna get him caught up on like some past, some past crimes. But I mean, his mom was cool with it. She literally was like, "Yeah, if he acts up over there, whoop his ass." So, but that was good for us. You know what I mean? We were doing stupid shit. Get your ass whooped. You stop doing stupid shit. Yeah, honestly, my philosophy on that has changed as I become an adult. I'm like, yeah, at a certain age, you don't really need to whoop kids. You should do a better job when they're younger of teaching them the difference between right and wrong, so that when they get to that age, either they know what they did was wrong, and you don't need to whip their ass because they already knew it was wrong in the first place. You need to, implement something, take something away from them, whatever. Or they don't know it was wrong, and you don't need to whip their ass because they didn't even know it was wrong. So that would be fucked up to beat them because they made a mistake and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know this was a bad thing," right? So, but also, every kid needs something different. Can't treat all kids the same. Finna get people arrested like DJ Vlad now. I'm 22. Well, luckily, I didn't say the kid's name, so they would have no way of knowing who was my best friend back then. But yeah, those dudes on those podcasts, they're idiots, bro. Ever since that whole Rico case happened, I don't really watch those kind of podcasts, but I was interested just because people were saying that they were like straight up admitting the crimes on there. So I started watching some of the clips from when they were on there. And I'm like, damn, these dudes are literally fully explaining the crimes that they committed. Like, if the police didn't know before, they could connect all the dots from watching a podcast. Like, oh, this is the guy we're looking for right here. All right, I'm back. I'm back. But yeah, I forgot what I was talking about. Something about incriminating evidence. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum bum. Dun 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 dun. Man, you know what I was just thinking about? I never watched that anime that you recommended me. It was like Black Lagoon or something like that. Never watched it. But I'm going to. Still in the back of my mind. I haven't watched anything lately, that's the problem. My life's been kind of busy. I've never trusted DJ Vlad. Listen, man. Whether or not those dudes are trying to get people caught up, it doesn't really matter. They are getting people caught up. Now, the people that are telling on themselves are stupid too. But why are you hosting a show about crimes? Why are you talking about crimes, bro? They are interesting. I don't really care. If you want to ruin your life and talk about active cases on podcasts, go ahead, bro. I will probably listen because I'm interested in how someone could be so stupid. But I don't know, man. I think uh, I think capitalizing off of that stuff is a little weird too. I couldn't do it, but hey, man, people want to make their money. People want to make their money, man. I think Adam 22 is worse than Vlad. because I think there's only been like one time I've ever seen Vlad like cross the line. But Adam 22 constantly, bro, he'll be like, so weren't you involved in that shooting, or didn't you get into a shootout with like the ops on Black? And the dudes would just be like, nah, that was somebody else. And he'd be like, oh, because I thought you were the one that got into the shootout, and apparently you had shot like three people, and they'll just be like, nah, that literally wasn't me. And he'll just be like, are you just saying that, or was it actually not you? And I'm like, bro, what? You think they're gonna admit to shooting somebody in a case that hasn't been resolved? Like, shut up, bro. I don't think I've ever seen Vlad really do that. He definitely asked some police type questions, but like I said, if people want to sit down and do that shit, that's on them, bro. Lord Javar, yeah. But that's what I'm saying, man. All of that content is basically that. Adam 22 is worse because his stuff to me is like only about gangs now. At least Vlad is like still kind of talking about music and stuff. I don't think either one of them really talk about music that much. It seems to be a crime podcast disguised as a music podcast. Like if you had to say, like if you had to define Vlad's podcast, how would you define it? You know, let's say Joe Rogan, I could define his podcast. I could say they're just open conversations, usually about philosophy or some topic of the world. I can't really define Vlad's shit. Besides saying they talk about crimes. Like if I had to recommend Vlad's podcast to somebody, I wouldn't be like, oh, it's a hip hop podcast where they talk about music. Because most of the time they're not talking about music. And yeah, Adam 22 is just, bro. I don't even know what to say about that guy or his podcast, bro. Some weird shit, bro. I really try not to judge other people because I think, who am I to say that you're living wrong or that you're weird, even if I think you are. But he's a lot, man. His podcast, everything is just a lot, bro. And like I said, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to be super judgmental. You know what he does with his wife and other people, that's him. It's not me. Why should I care? But I do think it's strange. Just a little bit. I really want to see this 4Extra dude. I really want to see him fight. I think he's screwing himself over. Rolando, have you seen the 4Extra dude? Off the back. When you tell me if you know who 4Extra is, I'll tell you why he's screwing himself over from a marketing standpoint. Gracias al maltrato se puso bella. DJ Vlad's always instigating knows watching Michael J. White and he was bringing up the beef with Steven Seagal. But that's what I mean though, bro. Like when you I'll get back to that in a second. Because you just called him a fighter. He's not a fighter. Kevin says, what do you call a dog with no legs? Call him whatever you want. He ain't gonna come to you. Rolando, he's not a fighter. He's a gang member, I guess. I don't know. That's the point. And he's a big dude. He's like 6'4", like 260 or something like that. And he's always in jail. And he's talking about like, I ran 40 fades in a day in the county. And he's like the most popular thing on No Jumper right now. He's the reason why No Jumper is still alive, to be honest. If you watch one of his interviews, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm interested. Stress test. Happy birthday. Mine is actually on Wednesday. It's April 16th. So Rolando, this dude is like super popular right now. Like I said, if you check out No Jumper right now, I guarantee you he's gonna be like his videos have the most views because all he does is talk about fighting. And he's been saying he could beat up a UFC fighter and blah blah blah. We all know that's not the case, but he's building interest around it. The problem is this has been going on for months. And yes, I'm talking about a dude who said he could beat up UFC fighters. The problem is this is going on too long. And when you build up hype like this and you get your ass whooped, no one's ever gonna want to hear you talk again. He should have done the fight early when he has so much hype around his name. I don't know how that's gonna look for him now. Helping with words, what's up? Yeah, Patty Pimblett beat Chandler. Bro, I don't know who puts faith in Michael Chandler. Like people said I was crazy when I said Patty Pimblett was gonna smoke him, but I'm like, have you ever watched Michael Chandler fight? Zero IQ. He's never gonna beat an elite fighter, bro. I don't even know how he beat Dan Hooker, but whatever. No IQ, no skills. He's just strong and explosive. And as you get older, that starts getting less and less and less. So he sucks, bro. Like he sucks as an elite fighter. He's not a top 10 type of guy. Like even Conor McGregor on drugs and whatever he's dealing with right now could come back to the UFC and wash him easily, bro. So you heard teachers would do what? Adam 22 said he was gonna schedule a fight for him, but that's what I'm saying, bro. They're taking too long. When you got too much hype, then they're it brings with it too much expectation. You know what I mean? So even if he wins, if he doesn't look amazing, we're gonna be like, man, 40 fades in the county. You said you fought 20 people in a day. Like, nah, you bullshitting. Like he's building himself up to be this mythical dude that can't ever lose a fight. When in reality, he's just a human, bro. We've seen plenty of 6'4", 260 dudes get knocked out in boxing and UFC. So um, it's just stupid. And you have to not be able to fight to believe that he that he's some mythical person that can't lose in a fight. And I respect it. He's doing a great job of marketing himself. He just should have gotten into a fight earlier. I've been playing a lot of chess this week. Tactics in the game are interesting. How long have you been playing? I was in a chess club when I was a kid. My dad forced me to. I was pretty decent back then, but I'm trash now, man. One of my clients that I trained, we used to play we used to play chess. Like we had the what was it like Game Pigeon for iPhone? So we used to play chess in between his workout sets. And he was like a real deal chess player. He used to cook me and I was like, "Oh my god, like I can't believe I'm this horrible now." Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bobby Green is believable. Man, I watched a podcast with Bobby Green that just like completely put me off of him, bro. Like it was the weirdest thing ever. I can't remember exactly what he was talking about, but it had to do with like violations. And I was just like, this is weird. None of the podcast hosts like were reacting to it. But it was like he was saying he was getting violated by his stepdad. But the thing is, he didn't consider it a violation. Like he was like, nah. He was like, cause at the time, like I had feelings for him and blah blah blah. And I'm like, what? I'm like, bro, that's a violation, bro. You were a kid, like you were a teenager, like nah, not the one with Rampage. It was with random dudes, bro. I'll send you a clip. If you remind me when I get off of the stream, I'll send you the clip. Or I'll just send you the podcast and tell you which time to go to. I learned the basics of the game a long time ago, but never took it seriously. You know what's really interesting about chess is there's like an unlimited combinations. There's an unlimited amount of combinations that you could do, right? But there's only so many that people actually do, and it's more memorization than anything. And so I'll tell you a weird story, bro. My uncle on my dad's side, he's been to prison a couple times. One time he got out of prison, and this was when I was in the chess club, bro. One time he got out of prison, and the chessboard was there at a family reunion, and he said, "Hey nephew, you want to play chess?" And like, I was I was kind of being condescending, and I'm like, "Yeah, you don't have a chance of beating me." And he's like, "That's all I did. That's all I did in prison was play chess." And I was just like, "Yeah," but in my head, I'm thinking, "Bro, you're not fucking with me in chess. Like, you're a jailbird, bro." This dude knew like anything that I could potentially do. I don't know how many games he played, and I don't know how long it took him to memorize everything. But I'm telling you, you moved a pawn in one place, you do the next move, and he's like, "Oh, if you do that, the only things you could do is this, and this." And he's like, "So I already know which direction you're trying to go." Bro, he would checkmate me so fast, and I'll be like, "What the?" I was literally looking at my dad like that had to be a fluke, right? Bro, he smoked me like 15 games in a row. And my dad, who was better than me at chess at the time, like, he was like, "All right, let me play." He smoked my dad too, bro. And we were just like, what the fuck? So, if you want to get good at chess, just go to prison. Kids don't even know what chess is nowadays. No, that's facts. I've ran 4,000 phases in one day. You could be Space Monster. I'm socking you out. Nah, he's hella entertaining though, bro. 4Extra's a funny ass dude. Hella funny. Do 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 do. Damn, it's almost 10 o'clock already. Probably gonna get off of here at 10:30. I gotta study, man. I got stuff to do. I gotta study, and I have to finish programming for my clients. Usually I'm done by now, but I've been busy, man. I gotta make sure all my clients have their workouts for this week. And some of them are in the UK, so I have to do it a little earlier because they wake up early and work out, and that's like nighttime for me. So I can't wait. Can't wait. I can't wait. What y'all got going on though, man? On this beautiful Sunday night. See what we got for the green screen. Got any funny pictures in my camera roll? Nah, nothing funny. What about all boxing pictures? Alright, I'm done. No green screen. I was hoping I had a meme to put as my green screen. Damn, everybody got quiet. What happened? Where did y'all go? Well, I'm gonna take advantage of this moment of quietness to go to the bathroom, so I'll be right back. do, 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 do. Helping with words. How's your language learning going? How is your language learning going? Princesa maltrata, te puso villa. Princesa maltrata, se puso villa. Slow, but as long as I keep progressing. What are you currently working on, or what are you having trouble with? Either one. Ahora tú la quieres y no te quiere ella. Tu, 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 tu. Dun, 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 dun. Hace tiempo no te veo. Y ya para Instagram no sube nada. Pero te pareciste pa' mi cama. Started working on speaking in the present tense, like you said. Okay, that's good. Are you having any trouble with it? If you are, what trouble are you having? I'll start past tense tomorrow. That's good. Well, I'll tell you, man, the good thing about Spanish is that it's very, very pattern based compared to English. You know, we have a lot of pattern rules in English, but there's like way too many exceptions. So, you know, I before the E, except all of these exceptions. Or this letter is silent except when it's not. You know what I mean? But Spanish is very, for the most part, pattern based. And even the stuff that breaks the pattern has a pattern. So, you know, for example, like I'm sure you know, because you've been working on the present tense very diligently, you know, to say something in the present tense, for the most part, you take the ending off and you put an O, you know, right? Comer, como. Bailar, bailo. But in the past tense, it's the same way. If you chop off the ending for an AR verb and you put an E, the stressed E, then you're going to say that you did that thing in the past tense, you know, bailé, right? Like I said, there's some exceptions. And for IR and ER, it's pretty much always an I with an accent mark, comí. But even the stuff that is different is it has a pattern. I'm not gonna confuse you with all of those differences right now, but just know that when you learn a way to say something, it works for the most part for everything, right? So that's good. That's good. I know the endings, but not for the irregulars. Well, that's what I mean. For the irregular stuff, it's gonna be pretty similar. Pretty similar. I really can't think of it off the top of my head because it's not something that I think about. But, you know, it changes, but it still ends the same for the most part. And that's just practice. It's just practice. The more you do it, the more you don't have to think about it. So that's in any language, English, Spanish, or whatever. I coach little kids, and so you really don't think about how you learned your own language, but little kids can't speak for shit, bro. Like, I coach all ages from like 3 to 12, and it's the 3 to 5 year olds where they're saying like, coach, her pushed me, and I'm like, oh, she pushed you, and they're like, yeah, her pushed me, and I'm like, oh, she pushed you. So you just kind of have to keep saying it to them until they start going like, oh shit, why am I saying her pushed me? And eventually they get it and they just correct it, but you don't even think about that time in your life. But that's just how it works. You say stuff wrong and you hear it the right way and you're like, oh shit. And it just takes practice. You have to say it enough times where, me and you, we would never say, oh, her hit me. But it's because we practice it so many times that we don't think about when we said it the wrong way. Hey, Giselle, what's up? So it's all repetition, man. Everything in life is a math equation, bro. Kobe talked about that shit all the time. Rest in peace. He went from scoring 0 points in a season as a 12-year-old to being the best shooting guard in the country of all ages at 14. And it was just math to him. He just said, if I did this many repetitions every single day, then in a year or two, I have to be better than all these kids that are only playing 2 or 3 times a week and only for 1 hour. If I'm doing 3 hours of work every single day, this many repetitions over the course of a year or two, you make quantum leaps, as he said. So it's the same thing, which is why a lot of people that are learning a language will say, oh, well, I've been learning for 2 years and I haven't made nearly as much progress as that guy who's been learning for 2 years. But it's like the time doesn't matter if in that time they practice every single day and they practice that sentence. Like, imagine, let's just use me and you right now. This is obviously hypothetical. We're both working on the present tense and we got these example sentences, and I say my sentence 100 times a day and you say yours 5 times. And we do that throughout the week. Even at the end of the week, bro, I've said my sentence 700 times because I say it 100 times a day, and you've said your sentence 35 times. That's a huge difference. Even by the end of the week, I'm gonna be that much more comfortable with saying it and better than you. Not in a bad way, but it's just what it is. And so imagine that progress over a year. It's gonna be an exponential difference. If I'm doing 700 somethings a week, you know what I mean? I'm getting 1,400 in 2 weeks. I'm getting 2,800 in a month. You know what I mean? By the end of the year, I'm well into tens of thousands of reps, 20,000, 30,000 plus. And you would be, where you're crossing over into 100 a month. So at the end of a year, you're at like 1,200. 1,200 compared to 30,000. Of course, I'm going to be speaking better than you, more fluidly, more comfortable. And so people confuse that time with the repetition. And it's just not the same thing. So that's why I tell people, I'm just like, bro, speak to yourself as much as you can. Even if it's, the incorrect accent and pronunciation right now, it's still better than nothing. And you will correct yourself over time if you are intentional about it. Just like little kids never stop talking, bro. And that's why they can speak fluently when they're 4 years old, 5 years old. They literally talk all fucking day and they don't shut up. So that's what adults should do too when they're learning a language. If they can. Yeah, Kobe was different, man. Very different. Oh, do you still study once you're fluent? It depends on what you define as studying. Like, how do you define studying? I never studied in the first place, so. But I still do the things that got me to where I am. I still have conversations with Spanish speakers every day. I still read. I still listen. So if you consider that studying, then yes, you still study. In the same way that I still study English, because I still learn more English every day. I'm always like I have to take a test in a week and a half for a certification, and ooh, that shit broke my pockets, bro. They make you pay so much money to take that fucking test, bro. It was like my whole paycheck. But yeah, for that test, I have to study so much, bro. And keep in mind, this is something that I've been a professional in for 10 years. And I've passed the test before. And it's still difficult. I still have to restudy for it when I take it again because there's so much information and you don't know what they're going to ask you. We're talking about biochemistry. We're talking about what makes a muscle contract. What is the muscle made out of? What happens if this thing moves in this direction? You know, we're talking about rotational torque and all kinds of stuff that I don't use in my daily life, but I need to know for the test. So even then, I'm learning new words in English. I'm like, I don't remember learning that the first time, but that's just part of life. If you are progressing and stuff, you learn more stuff. So I should say practice. Well, if you're talking about practice, then yeah, man, because just like I said, if you're if you're pushing yourself in any capacity, then you would be learning more stuff. Like, could I just hang it up and say, okay, I've learned Spanish to a decent level. I'm never gonna talk again. I'm never gonna whatever. I could, but that's just not my personality. Like, I like learning, so I'm always reading more difficult books in both languages. Like, I just like learning stuff, bro. If I ever hear a piece of information in either language that I don't know about, I go look up the story. So in that situation, I'm always learning in both languages. Like, you know, I follow a lot of because I lived in Colombia. I have a lot of Colombian friends. Sometimes they post stuff, and I'm like, damn, I have no idea what they're talking about because I didn't grow up there. So this political situation is foreign to me. So if they reference something from the past, a civil war or whatever, I'm like, oh, I gotta go look that up. I want to know about it. I don't want to just see it and say, that has nothing to do with me, and just go on about my life. I like learning um, about everything. So the learning keeps going as long as you want it to. You can stop whenever you want to. If you want to get to an okay level of Spanish and just stop, you can. But I would say why? When you can learn more. The other thing too, and this is any language, is that the further you get along, there's two things that happens. One, you get less grace for miscommunications. If you don't know how to talk at all, and you say like, uh, hey, you piece of shit. I'll be like, this motherfucker don't know what he's saying, so I'm not gonna smack him. You know what I mean? But if you get to an intermediate point, if I feel like you know what you're saying, I'm like, oh yeah, you don't get a pass. But here's the thing, there's like this little zone where it's like you're good enough to speak, but you're not good enough to know if you're making a big mistake. So for me, I always wanted to get past that. I wanted to make sure I could like understand if I was offending someone or if I was saying something that was culturally inappropriate. And you can only learn that stuff by going really, really far and learning the difference between, you know, I don't know, maybe in English, like, you know, for us, you can't really tell someone that they look rough today. Lots of people that learn English, they don't know, like, it's cultural not to say shit like that. But my Spanish speaking friends, bro, they'll just straight up be like, yeah, you don't look good today. Like, oh, you look sick. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks, bitch. Like, But there's just that's what I'm saying. There's so much that goes culturally with a language that it takes time to learn, man. There's a gestation period. You can't learn everything culturally, and like there's certain connotations for certain words. You can't learn all of that shit in a year. So no matter what someone says, they say, "Oh, I learned the whole language in a year." You learn how to communicate yourself, okay, but you didn't learn the whole language. You have to do that. It's a lifetime of learning. And you still never get to the end, but you can become very refined in the language, you know. So you always fear saying the wrong thing. Don't worry, bro. Like I said, where the stage that you're at right now, nobody would care if you said the wrong thing. It'll probably be funny. But the further along you get, like I said, you get less grace for miscommunications because they're gonna be like, nah, you know what you're saying. You try to be sneaky and get away with it or something like that. Um, and like I said, just the more you learn, the more you start, you think, you just think more about like the stuff that you don't know. In the beginning, you're just like, I just want to communicate. The further you get along, you're like, you know what? I want to be able to be funny in this language. I want to be able to flirt in this language. I want to be able to whatever. I don't want to just say like, "Hi, my name is this," and can I get this? I want to show my personality in this language. You can't show your personality without being able to talk. So, and if you're nervous about talking, you still can't show your personality. So you got to get comfortable in the language to be able to show your personality. So, but yeah, there's so much about both languages that people don't think about, they don't know about. As a native speaker, you don't have to think about it. Like our language is English is very we have a lot of our language is very contextual. It's not very direct. And that's hard for people that learn English to understand. We have a lot of context clues and a lot of tones that help you get what we're saying. Like if I say uh she didn't say that. That's a different sentence from me saying she didn't say that. You know what I mean? That's a totally different sentence. And if you're a native speaker, you know the difference. If you're not a native speaker, you'll be like, oh, you just said the same thing twice, but I didn't say the same thing twice. Because the tone tells you what I'm talking about. Or if I say she didn't say that, or if I say she didn't say that, those are all four different sentences with completely different meanings. You know what I mean? But that's hard for people that are learning English to get. They literally don't hear the difference. You hate seeing those Spanish in 7 days videos. Yeah, that shit's stupid. And most of those videos are doctored up anyways. They're all fake, bro. Like, even the year videos, bro. You can learn a lot in a year. I learned a lot in a year. But I was honest about where I was at in a year. Like, bro, even at 2 and 3 years, like, I was just telling the WhatsApp group, my Spanish learner guys, I was telling them, like, bro, even when I lived in Colombia, there's this thing that I don't know. It's like a Hispanic superpower. Them motherfuckers be having a volume up for the music on blast so that you can't even hear yourself talk. But it's like they're really good at reading lips or they have super sharp hearing. I don't know what the fuck, bro. But they can just talk to each other with the music at full blast, bro. And they will be saying stuff to me and I'll be like, dog, it's not that I can't understand your Spanish. I can't hear any words that you're saying, bro. Like, I don't know how they talk with the music so loud and it's just like normal for them, bro. Even my Puerto Rican neighbors, they're like that too. Like, bro, I live a street over. You could hear their music from here. They invite me over. You get there. As soon as you open the door, it's like doo 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 doo, and like you can't hear nothing, bro. And they'll like try to greet you and like ask you questions, and I'm like, I can't hear you, bro. What are you talking about? But then they'll look at someone else and they'll say something, and it's like a normal conversation. How they do that, I don't know. It's like a lifetime of music talking training. That shit is normal for them. I can't understand that shit. I'd be like, bro, you need to turn the music off, or you need to text me. Text me right here, right next to me. Just show me on your phone what you're trying to say. But yeah, I don't feel bad about that shit. I didn't grow up speaking over max volume music. So you were hurt when you found out they be fake. Yeah, they're all fake, bro. They're all fake. If you're not watching the unchopped video, it's fake, and that's fine if they tell you that that's what it is. Like I have videos where it's clearly edited, but not my conversation videos. My conversation videos are completely unedited. Like literally people complain sometimes, bro. They say like, what's up with the intro? And I'm like, there is no intro because it's just a conversation. I literally click record and we start talking. So sometimes it's a little weird because I'm not like, welcome to the Jalen Shabazz show. And I'm just like, I hit record and I'm like, what's up, bro? And we just start talking from there. So you mean like Lao Shu? Yeah, rest in peace. Hold on, I'm gonna talk about that. Let me go to the bathroom. Rest in peace to him, though. Okay, so Lao Shu. Yeah, Moses McCormick. All right, check this out. Lao Shu was honest. He was honest with his. I want to say this without disrespecting him. Rest in peace. He was honest, bro, because he would tell you, like, here's the breakdown. You learn this basic stuff and you throw it out there and you kind of learn on the go. You know what I mean? And he would say that, but the problem was, and the problem is, if you're at a lower level than he's at, which is probably anyone that's watching his stuff, you're like, man, this guy's communicating great. And that's not his fault because he told you what he's doing. Once you get further along, like when I watch his Spanish videos, I'm just like, oh, this dude has no idea what the fuck they're saying to him. Like, he knows how to say, my name is this, I'm from here. He knows how to respond if they ask you, where are you from? What's your name? How long, or how did you learn? Or how long have you been learning? He knew like 5 preloaded questions. And after that, no matter what anyone said to him, it's like he responded with an automated answer. You know what I mean? I remember like very clearly this one video, he was in a bar and like the dude was like asking him, does he like the music? But he didn't understand them. And so he just responded with like however he wanted to respond. And back in the day when I watched it, I thought him and the dude were having a good conversation. And then I watched it again like 2 years later or something. I'm like, damn, he's kind of just ignoring everything he says and saying whatever he wants to say, which is fine. It's cool. If you can't understand somebody, like he's just out there doing his best, right? And it's not his fault that I thought he was doing better than he did. That's my fault. You get what I'm saying? He didn't present it in a way like, oh, I'm fluent in Spanish. He literally told us what he's doing. He said, this is the playbook. You just need to get your basic phrases and get out there and practice. And that's what he was doing. It's not his fault he couldn't understand them. You know what I mean? I saw a couple of videos. He was in a cab speaking Spanish with someone and he didn't understand half the shit they were saying. And again, that was my fault for assuming he was having an amazing conversation. I just didn't know. But he tells you the playbook. He tells you what he's doing. So, but that's why you can't compare yourself to other people, man. You could use it as inspiration, which I did. I saw him do it. And I'm like, I'm gonna do that too. I'm gonna just go practice. Good inspiration. I have no hate in my heart for being for playing myself. What about Shalma and NYC? I really don't care for that guy, bro. I think the one video or the couple videos I saw from him were like originally I saw him like learning like Spanish in like 21 days or something where he was like studying 8 hours a day or some shit. And he was decent, bro. He was actually really decent for the time that he put in. But I just don't care for his content, to be honest. I think he has like I don't know, it's like a very American, like, gringo goes into the cafe and amazes them with his Spanish. Or, most of the time it's some Asian language. Like, white guy goes into diner and amazes Chinese people with his Mandarin. And I'm like, dog, get off your own dick. Like, you're not the first person in the world to learn a language. Like, I think I probably would watch his stuff if it just said, like, I practice my Mandarin in the cafe, or I practice my Spanish in Mexico. But he just be doing too much for me, bro. So I've only watched like 2 of his videos ever. I just wasn't feeling it. Like, no disrespect, but And the thing too, bro, and like, how do I say this? Nobody cares if somebody else learns English. Like if you made a video that's like Mexican amazes Americans with his English, nobody would give a fuck, bro. But it's like so special if some middle class dude from America learns another language. And it's like, bro, everyone around the world is learning languages. Like we're not special for doing it. And I don't think I'm special for doing it. So like people probably think I can't accept compliments, but if someone compliments my language learning, I'm just like, thanks. I'm not the only person in the world that can do it. Like you can do it too. It's really not incredibly special. I'm proud of myself for what I've done, but it's not incredibly special. And I couldn't ever title a video like he titles it. Yeah, he is cringe. He did a French in 12 hours. Uh, I mean, Rolando, you know, there's bro, languages have a gestation period. You cannot learn too much in 12 hours. You can learn some very basic stuff in 12 hours. If you really grinded, you could you know, I don't think it's difficult to carry a basic conversation in Spanish if you learn the very basics. That's what I always tell people. I'm like, if you just bro, just learn the simple past, learn the present, you'll be having full conversations, bro. But it's the higher stuff that's harder. It's like really expressing yourself, really mastering the subjunctive and stuff like that. So I know that the 12-hour videos and stuff like that is probably impressive to people that haven't learned it all. But when you learn, you're like, well, yeah. I mean, like if I went back in time with the mind I have now, easily in a week, I could be having conversations. Pretty, okay conversations, even if I started from scratch. Because I would just say, oh, yeah, I'm just going to learn this, this, and this, practice this many times. It's literally just a math equation. But it definitely takes time to understand the higher level stuff because it takes real life experiences and context. You can't just like read something and it's like, oh, the subjunctive is this. It's like, yeah, you could try to define that shit all you want to, bro. You need to fuck around with it in real life and get confused a bunch of times and be like, oh, now I get it. And then be like, no, actually I don't. And you're like, oh, now I get it. And you're like, no, actually I don't. You need to do that at least 5 times. Yeah, that's because English is an obligation. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying for sure. Definitely. But to me, I don't know. It's complicated because to me that also makes it like it makes it harder, right? Because it's a hobby. Like I think I might have told helping with words this last time. I'm like, yeah, it's harder when it's not an obligation because you can just decide you're not gonna do it today. If you need it, you're like, bro, I gotta learn this shit for money, for this. Uh, but at the same time, I'm like, bro, that means it was a privilege for you to learn the language. It's not as impressive to me. It's like, bro, you just chose to do it. It's like if you chose to play basketball, like it's impressive if you make it to a really high level, but I don't know. I'm just like, it's just a thing that you just chose to do. You said what you struggle with is listening. Bro, you just gotta practice listening. You know what I make people do in the WhatsApp group, bro? I make them do transcriptions. So I send them a clip and I tell them to write it as they hear it. Don't try to guess what they're saying or nothing like that. Literally write what you hear, and then we go over it and see how close you got. And then we could talk about why you thought you heard what you heard. Like a lot of people don't like straight up listen. They're like trying to guess what the person is saying. They're trying to like force certain pronunciations. But I'm like, if you actually just listen to what they're saying and just write it down, you'll get a lot closer than you think. Even the word subjunctive scares me. The subjunctive is not, it shouldn't be scary, bro. It can get difficult with the higher level stuff, but as a basic concept, it's not scary, bro. People make it scary and then they don't learn it. But It's not scary, bro. Too many vowels. Yeah, I've seen some French stuff. I can't. I saw a TikTok that completely put me off French, and I was never gonna learn it in the first place. But then I was definitely not gonna learn it after this. But I think they were saying something along the lines of like, what would it have been? It was just a completely different conjugation for every single thing. Like it was not even close. You know, at least in like uh in Spanish and English, you know, I say I drank, you drank, she drank, stuff like that, right? It's stuff changes, but it's close. Spanish, you know, the ending is changing, but it's close. Whatever they were showing in French, it changed every single time, and it was not even close to the first thing. And I was like, oh hell nah, bro. Have you heard that learning while stress is bad for learning? Apparently, stress releases cortisol, which makes info retention harder. Yeah, absolutely. That's why, actually, for two different reasons, if you take a little bit, take a little shot, you will be more relaxed and you might actually learn a little bit more of the language that you're learning. Is the aha moment fake too? When they say they woke up and understood? No, that's not fake. I think it's different for everybody, but there's definitely been concepts that like on the day that someone was teaching me, like my brain just couldn't wrap around it, like the subjunctive. And at some point I was like, oh, I see now. Like you can't say it like this because it literally won't make sense. It's like I was just saying about little kids. Like they're gonna go like a year or two saying, her hit me. Him took that from me. And one day they're gonna be like, why the fuck am I saying her hit me? It's she. It's clearly she. And they're never gonna say her again. When is that gonna happen for them and what makes it happen? You don't know. It's just certain things like you just hear it and you're just like, it's like you have a moment of consciousness or you're just like, why was I saying that other shit before? So that's how like definitely that happened for me with the subjunctive. Uh, I remember just like struggling, bro, early. Because my friend Will, he used to message me and he would say, espero que estés bien. And I just remember in the beginning, I'm like, oh, he misspelled estás, like clearly. And then he would just keep doing it. And I'm like, hey, bro, why you put estés? What is that? And he's like, well, it's the subjunctive because I said espero que. And I'm like, so estás doesn't mean you are? And he's like, no, it is. He's like, estés is the subjunctive version. And I, bro, that day, he was frying me, bro. Like, I could not understand what he was trying to say. And like shortly after in the future, it was like it just made sense to me. I'm like, oh yeah, because like he's hoping for it, so it's not real. Like it's not how I actually am in the moment. Of course, you wouldn't say it's does, but I don't know. The first day he tried to teach me that shit, bro, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? I drank a michelada with 3 tequila shots once and fell asleep instead of doing my homework. So that's the problem. Alcohol is a depressant and it definitely makes you sleepy. Bro, I could just drink like this much wine and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta go to sleep, bro. So there's definitely there's a little line, but it could work. It could work. But helping with words, one thing I would say is that I'm saying this as a coach too. Yeah, Rolando, I'm talking about Will. I'm saying this as a coach. Everybody learns differently. And I'm not saying that the teaching method has to be different, but everyone makes sense of everything differently. And so there's multiple way to explain things, there's multiple way to do things, there's multiple ways of doing things. Um, Even if it's mainly the same way. And I think that's the benefit of having a teacher. If you're not a really good self-learner, most people to me are not good self-learners. Most people don't know how to learn stuff. They don't know how to go about doing it. And I think that's a good part about having a teacher because they could try to re-explain things. And one of those ways you might actually understand. Whereas like if you're doing it yourself, you're gonna keep attacking it the same way. Why can't I make sense of this? Why can't I make sense of this? Why can't I make sense of this? And you're gonna just keep trying to do it, and it might never make sense. Whereas someone else could come along and explain it and just be like, "Oh yeah, this," and you're just like, "Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like we're on the same page." Like so, that is the benefit of having a teacher. Like for me, the thing that made the subjunctive make sense to me, and I can't even remember who told me or where I heard it at, but it wasn't Will that made me understand. He explained it very well that day. But what made it make sense for me was someone saying that, like I already said earlier in this live, English is very contextual and it's not very factual. But Spanish, the indicative is very, very factual. So if I say that something is the way it is, then it is that, right? And I can't say that if it's not true or if it's not currently happening. If I'm hoping that something is true, it is not currently true, or else I wouldn't be hoping for it. So I have to change it. English is, like I said, it's contextual. If I say, I hope you're doing well, it doesn't, I can just say, you are doing well, or I hope you're doing well. And I can use the same words, and you understand through context that my hope is that you're doing well. But in Spanish, I can't say espero que estás bien. That doesn't make sense because if I say estás bien, then estás bien. You are well, you are good, whatever, however you want to say it. So now that I said espero que, I need to say espero que estés bien because this is not a fact. It's something that is technically like a hypothetical. Yeah, I be wanting a Spanish teacher. I be thinking about going to Italki. You should, man. You should. I think practicing by yourself is just like practicing anything by yourself. A lot of motherfuckers on the heavy bag think that they could beat up Mike Tyson. It's real different when you get punched in the face, bro. That's why, like, anybody that says they're good at something, I'm like, what have you won? What have you competed in? Because that shit doesn't mean anything when you do it by yourself, bro. Everyone's fast on the track by themselves. Everyone's good at basketball when they're shooting around. When someone it can take the ball away from you and block your shot, it's totally different. So you will never know what serious flaws you have until you talk. This is the only way you can know. Everything sounds good in your head. Everyone can read fluently, speak fluently. Everyone I talk to is just like, oh yeah, no, I can say this easy. I can do this easily. And then if you hear them talk, they're like, they can't do it easily. It's because in your head, you thought you could. So you need that feedback from another person. You need to have the pressure of a conversation. Because that's the other thing. If you're by yourself, you could take as much time as you want to think. Even me right now on this live stream, I could say, well, I think, I could take all the time in the world. In a real conversation, someone asks you a question, they're expecting a response. I can't sit there and just, oh yeah, well, no, like you feel a pressure to respond timely, and that changes the whole dynamic of what you're doing. So you could sit up in your room all day and say, como manzanas. But in a real conversation, that shit is like they're asking you, what did you eat today? Oh yeah, was it good? This. And you're like, ah damn, like my brain's fried. I'm glad you said that about Estes because I'd be confused. It's gonna be confusing at first, man, but it's as you learn more, it's not gonna be confusing, bro. The best thing that you could do. Hold on, I got a cough. I don't know what the fuck just happened. The best thing that you could do is learn a bunch of the triggers. So like I just said, espero que is a trigger, right? Anytime you say that, the next thing is about to be the subjunctive. It's like non-negotiable for the most part. So there's a bunch of those triggers though. There's a whole lot of them. if you want, you could join the WhatsApp group. My only rule is that you gotta talk. Um, Anybody who's inactive up in there, I kick them out. But yeah, learn that list, practice the list, and you'll get a lot better, bro. And you don't want to have to think about is this a subjunctive. You want to just be able to say it. If you ask a lot of native speakers that are not educated, they don't know what the fuck the subjunctive is, bro. The same way you might not know what it is in English. Most people just know how to say, uh, if I had this much money, or if you were to give me $1 million, this is what I would do with it. They're not thinking that's a subjunctive in their head. They just know how to express, oh yeah, if you were to give me if I was to win the lottery right now, I would go here. Like they just know how to say it, but they don't know the term for it. What's the WhatsApp group? Hold on, let me see if I can put a link in the chat. Because you could go on my page, and if you go on the community tab, it's probably one of the last posts I made because I don't post on there too much. But I'm gonna try to see if I could post it in the chat. OG Scuba Stevie. OG Scuba Stevie, I'm gonna kick you out if you don't talk, bro. Bro. I've had like probably over time, there's probably been 35 or so people in the group, maybe 40. Right now, we're a community of 10, bro. I kick people out. You go weeks without talking, I'm gonna kick you out, bro. Because the whole point of it, I want people to speak frequently. There's people that leave voice notes in the chat. You don't have to if you don't want to. But you gotta at least message. You know what I mean? So I want people to ask questions. I want people to speak and get corrections. I try not to overcorrect. So if you're like mainly communicating yourself, I just let you do your thing. But if it's like a grave error, then I just tell you like, hey yo, by the way, this is the better way to say that. All right, it's actually been a while since I posted the link, it looks like. So I'm gonna have to copy link address. Bro, nobody in the chat's gonna care how you sound, bro. Everyone in the chat is learning. There's some people that are pretty advanced up in there. There's some people that are intermediate. There's some people that are complete beginners that can't even use the past tense. I don't care, bro. Like that's like I tell everyone up in there. You're up in there to learn, right? So like I wouldn't expect you to be a pro or else you wouldn't have joined the chat. In fact, I tell people if you're advanced, you're probably not gonna want to be up in there. I'm in control of the group, so I'm there to help people. If it was me and it wasn't my group, I wouldn't join the group because it's for people that are really trying to learn, not people that are trying to have conversations with native speakers. So I want you to use the chat as practice time. Then you go out and game time with natives, you know what I mean? Or you could come back after your game time with natives. I got a guy up in there that has a Spanish speaking girlfriend. So sometimes he comes up in there and like, yo, my girlfriend said this, my girlfriend's dad said this, what does this mean? Or blah, blah, blah. Or he wants help with that region slang so he can communicate with them better. That's fine, bro. I don't care. I don't expect you to be a pro. I just want you to talk. And the more people talk, the more the community talks. You know what I'm saying? If you say something, if you kick it off with a good morning or whatever, then everyone else talks. It won't let me post this link. I don't know why. Oh, I know why. Because it took it. Let me see. I just got to cut out the YouTube redirect portion of it. Hold on, let me figure this out. Da 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 da. Dun, 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 dun. Don't mind that being from my other channel, but do I still study the language or just use it daily to stay sharp? Like I told helping with words earlier, I never really studied in the first place in the sense of studying. But I still do the same things that got me to this place. So I still read, I still have conversations daily. Most of my coworkers speak Spanish. So even though we have to use English in certain places when we're not there, our daily conversations are in Spanish. I still, all my friends from when I lived in Colombia, they're Spanish speakers that don't speak English, so I still talk to them all the time. Still watch games and podcasts and stuff in Spanish. So if you consider that studying, then yes, I still study every day. But I never did any traditional studying in the first place. I never did books like those kind of books or something. Do I have a quick temper? I used to. I don't anymore. I'm too old for that. When I say I didn't study, what do I mean? What I mean is from this. All right, let me tell you something, just in case you don't know. I took Spanish in high school, right? And I came out of there like not able to have a conversation, not able to do anything really. And then I tried Duolingo and I was able to do nothing. During the quarantine, I had a friend, Will. Y'all might not know him, but my friend Will, I told him to start speaking to me in Spanish. So my learning from 2020 that got me conversational till now was literally having conversations. That's all I did. Like I'm talking about day one, bro. Like he would ask me questions like "¿Qué comiste hoy?" and I would just be like "¿Qué comiste hoy?" What does that mean? No idea what he was saying. Like, bro, he would have to like hold up food and he'd be like "¿Qué comiste hoy?" and I'll be like, "Oh, como," and I would be like responding in the present tense instead of the past tense, like that, bro. Like that is how I learned from 2020 on. I just had conversations with him, and over time, we had many lessons in the conversation. So he would say, he would tell me, like I just told you, if you're trying to say something in the past and it's an ER verb, you just put an I there. So you say, call me, right? Right? Stuff like that. Or if it was an AR verb, he would say, no, you don't say this. You say hable, right? And I would say, oh, okay. And then I would try to use it right afterwards. And I just did that. I would watch YouTube videos. Like if he told me something and I couldn't fully understand it, I'll be like, let me go try to learn this shit some more. So I'll like type in past tense Spanish on YouTube or something. So I never wrote anything down. I never did any flashcards. I never did anything like that. But nah, it wasn't scary, bro, because the whole reason I started doing that was because I'm a strength and conditioning coach. At the time I was doing personal training and like I had a client that couldn't speak English. And up until that point, I just thought I was incapable of learning languages because of my past experiences. And when I would train her, I would ask her to do certain stuff and she would try to confirm it in Spanish. And she knew that I could understand a little bit. And she would try to confirm it. And so I'll be like, let's do some squats. And she would say, las sentadillas. And I'll be like, I'll type that shit on my phone. I say, oh, yeah, las sentadillas. The next day, I will remember that shit, bro. And I'm like, hold on a second. I'm like, I'm learning way more just by her saying stuff and us doing it than I ever learned trying to like do Duolingo and study and all this kind of shit. So from then on, I started thinking like, I think I just need to talk. I think I need to hear people say stuff. I think I need to learn it in context and I'm gonna be good. And that's how I got the idea to ask my friend to just speak to me in Spanish. And so we would just straight up do role play for the most part, bro. Like he would say, like, okay, you're a trainer. How do you say we're gonna do squats? How do you say we're gonna do push-ups? How do you say take a break? And I like he'll be frying me in the class, but I'll go back to my training sessions and my people will be like, yo, you went from not being able to talk to like you telling us to take 5-minute breaks and go get water and stuff like that. So they were like crazy impressed. And I'm like, oh shit, like I'm really speaking Spanish, bro. So I never felt the need to like pull out no textbooks because I was doing fine. T Dog says, stuck at B1. How do I get past this? You got to step your level up to step your level up, bro. The thing about, I was just telling somebody this in the WhatsApp group, actually. I'm going to try to make this short. When you're a beginner, you're getting so much stimulus, right? You learning a whole bunch of stuff whether you want to or not, because all you know how to do is say, hola, ¿cómo estás? So you're hearing a bunch of new words every day. You're hearing a bunch of stuff every day. You're hearing this, and this. You're getting a whole bunch of information, and so you make progress. You get to that intermediate level, and you stop doing stuff that actually challenges you. Everything is challenging in the beginning because you don't know anything. Once you get to an intermediate level, we'll say B1, B2, whatever, it's like someone could ask you to read a book, and you're like, nah, that book will be too hard. Watch this show without subtitles. Oh, no, that will be too hard. So you're not getting any new stimulus that will help you learn. You're just doing stuff you already know how to do. If you read a book and you know every single word in the book, you didn't learn anything in the book. When you didn't know anything, you could read the most simple book and you learned 100 words. But you at a B1 level, you're like, that's too hard. I need to be able to understand it. So you understand every single thing you heard. You're not learning shit. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. So that's usually what happens. If you're stuck at B1, you got to ask yourself, what do you not know how to do well? If you're at B1, you don't know how to do a lot of stuff well. Do you know how to use the past subjunctive? That's a start. Like, do you know how to say, he told me to do it? Because most people at your level, they say something similar to like, they basically say like, he told me, and then they like do in quotations, do it. But they don't know how to say, he told me to do it. So learning stuff like that is what's going to take you to the next level. Do I plan to live outside the country again? I don't know. I suffered an injury in Colombia, so that's why I came back. But now I'm just working, and it's just hard. It's hard to pick up your life. We picked up our life to move to Colombia. We picked up our life to move back. So that's tough. But with the way this country's going, I might. But I don't have any hard plans to do it again right now. But I love Colombia, man. If bare minimum, I'm gonna go back there just to visit, just to see the homies and stuff. Visit my old boxing gym and stuff like that. I gotta let them know I'm good. They be checking on me all the time, like, yo, bro, how's your legs doing? I'm like, good, man. So, gotta go back and work out with them. One of my super close homies out there at the boxing gym, like, right before I got hurt, we were supposed to spar each other. And so he always be messaging me like, you owe me a sparring session, bro. You need to get back out here. And I'm like, yeah, I got you, bro. Oh, it's Lafayette. What's up, bro? Yeah, America is cooked, bro. Unfortunately, I don't know where we headed. But yeah, T-Dog, if you got any more questions, just let me know, man. I'll help you as much as I can. I've probably been through everything you're going through. Well, not probably. I have. I already know. Where would I live? I don't know. My wife can get Spanish citizenship and Guatemalan citizenship, so maybe one of those. I like Colombia too. I really like living there. It's just a little, it has its problems. But I loved it. I don't think she would want to go back there, but I loved it. Da, 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 da. Damn, I said I was gonna get off at 10:30 and it's 10:52. That's crazy. What two countries did I mention? I said Spain and Guatemala. What I do for work now? I'm still a strength and conditioning coach, bro. Right now, actually, at the moment, I work with younger ages, but I'm about to go back to working out, all of the high-level special forces dudes and pro athletes. So Here's the thing about free healthcare. Free healthcare is never as good as healthcare that you pay for. So if you're over there, you still want to pay for something. You don't want to do the most basic thing. She's eligible for Spanish citizenship. Bro, she's actually Spanish nobility. I'm not joking. Things had to change once I got hurt. In Colombia, yeah, because I was hurt, bro. I was on like straight up bed rest. I don't know if you know the extent of my injury, but um, yeah, everything was tough, bro. So I just wanted to give my wife a break and come to like where my family was at the time, so that everyone could help and not just her. Cause I couldn't walk, I couldn't like do nothing by myself. So, but I'm good now. I'm back to regular. My family's in Hawaii. I'm in Texas. So, was the cost of living there super cheap? Yeah. I mean, all of that always depends on how you're living, right? So even in America, you can live luxuriously, or you can live within your means. I think it's the same thing there. Um, you know, you can find a place that's $200 a month to rent. Might not be the safest, might not be the best, but you can find it. You go up to 400, and it's gonna be better. You know what I mean? And it's gonna keep going like that. There's rich people in Colombia, so you can find places that cost as much as they do in America, and you'll be in a way safer neighborhood. You'll be in a way better living situation, whatever. So it just depends like that. Someone could say, "Oh man, America is such a cheap country. My rent's only $500," and it's like, "Yeah, bro, you probably live around gang violence." You know what I mean? So it's the same thing over there. It's definitely cheaper than America. You know what I mean? The rent, the Ubers, my Ubers every day. Like I would take an Uber every day to the boxing gym or the weightlifting gym. Both were about 20 minutes away from where I lived, and my Uber would be like $1.50. So it was a long drive, and it would be like $1.50. You go somewhere local, take an Uber to the grocery store or something. If you didn't feel like walking, it's like 50 cents. You know what I mean? So cheap. We'll go to this little bistro place every single day right by the house, and I'm trying to think how much was it. It was 28,000 pesos for me and my wife every single day. That was the combined total. And so, you know, not it was like $10, bro. It was like something super cheap for both of us to eat, like a 3-course meal every single day. So, could I bring a loaf of a loaf of American money? Let's say like 6K and be all right living there for a while. I mean, it depends on what city you live in and like I said, how you want to live. If you got 6K, I mean, like, what's living for a while? Are you talking about 6 months, a year, 3 months? I don't know what you're talking about. Rob, what's up, bro? I was just talking about you like 15 minutes ago. I was telling him about the WhatsApp group. But yeah, I don't know what you're saying when you say be all right living there for a while. You gotta tell me like how you're trying to live, what you're trying to do. Are you trying to, I don't know, what city you're trying to live in? Because I know Medellin costs more than where I was living. Like a year living semi-expensive, $400 a month. Um, I might have to bust out my calculator for this, but let me type. I don't know what your Spanish is like either, because if you don't speak good Spanish, you ain't gonna find a place for $400 because they're gonna rip you off. But let's say that you do get a place for $400. Bare minimum, we already know right there, you're gonna pay $4,800 for the year. So, um, if you got $6,000, you're gonna have, a little over 1,000 in spending money. For a year, I would say no. If you want to live semi-expensively, because like you probably could go through my YouTube, bro. If you just go like a year back, some of the places that we would go to eat and stuff, the people in the city that were going there, they're rich people. And so these meals that we're eating are like $100+. But that's because like we were splurging that day. You know what I'm saying? A regular restaurant, it probably costs you like 30. Well, you by yourself, it probably costs you $20. You know what I mean? $40 if you go crazy. Um, but yeah, if you go into the fancy restaurants a couple times a week and stuff, like yeah, that that extra $1,000 you guys gonna be burnt. But if you just eat off of, local spots, like I said, the local spot that I would go to, it was like 28,000 pesos. So uh, it would be like 14,000 pesos by yourself. And that would be, let me just do a rough estimation. 14, I clicked the wrong thing. 14,000. Wow, fuck my calculator. Stupid ass calculator. That shit is not working. Well, I really don't need the calculator. I was just trying to get you an accurate number. Yeah, that's not a lot at all. Let's go 14,000. That place was pretty cheap too. But we'll go 14,000 divided by 4,000. So it's like $3.50, you know what I mean? So if you eat off of the local shops, go to the breakfast spot around the corner from your house, go to the lunch spot around the corner from your house. Don't be taking girls out to fancy dinners and stuff. I was with my wife, so we would go eat. We wanted to eat at fancy places. We wanted to eat some crazy steak. They had a Mexican spot in town that said they had like steak with gold on it. I'm like, yeah, I want to see what it's hitting for. Like, if you don't do stuff like that, you'll be okay. If you do stuff like that, it ain't gonna last you a year. 15K for a year, you good in Cali. Yeah, 15K. 15K will last you for sure. Like I said, I mean, you could just budget too, bro. Like you can look at your expenses when you get there. Like you will know very shortly how much money you're spending and how much money you're gonna spend. Because I didn't know exactly how much we were gonna spend. I make my money online, you know what I'm saying? So I make money in person. I work as a strength and conditioning coach, but I also train people online. So I get a lot of money online. So I wasn't worried. I was just like, if I spend too much money at first, I'll just pull back and adjust. But it wasn't like I had a finite amount of money, like you said, like I got 15K, I gotta make it last. If anything, I would have just been like, all right, this month I need to stop spending until my clients pay me again next month. So for me, I got there. We stayed in a super expensive Airbnb while we were figuring stuff out. It's not that expensive, but it's expensive for Cali. You know what I'm saying? So if we would have stayed there like the whole month, I think it would have been like $700. But we didn't stay there the whole month. We literally stayed there like a week or two while we were figuring out exactly where we wanted to live. Um, and so once we figured that out, we moved into the area. You know what I'm saying? We went and bought like stuff for the house and just we're just spending money on dumb shit because we just got there and we're just excited. We're like, oh, I want to see this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And then, like I said, at the end of the first month or two, I looked and I'm like, okay, yeah, like if I kept doing this, I would be I would be spending too much money. But like I said, I was still getting a monthly income from my online clients, so I just pulled back a little bit. Um, how long did I live there? It was like I think a little under a year. I'm not sure exactly, but it was close enough to a year where I just say it was a year. But yeah, yeah, like after like 2 months, like I would say around 2 months, I started looking and pulling back just a little bit, just because I got into a groove. And so I was paying like 2 gym memberships, paying for XYZ, and I said, okay, like these are the things I'm gonna keep paying for every month. I need to make sure I got money for this. We wanted to move into a slightly bigger space, so we moved and like I said, I need to make sure I pay my rent. I need to make sure I pay my gym memberships. Make sure I got money to Uber and eat. After that, I was like, anything outside of that is excess. My haircuts, my haircuts were like $4 out there, so that wasn't something to really worry about. Most of the stuff out there is not something to worry about. Like I said, if you actually get groceries from the store and cook your own food, like bro, your groceries will not be more than $100 a month, like unless you're doing something crazy. But we like to eat out. We like to go and try out different food spots and stuff like that. How much I'm paying for cuts? Man, here shit is like $40, bro, and that's without the tip. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta give a tip. But that's the thing that kills me now, bro. I'm like, bro, I was getting my hair cut for $4 in Colombia. Now I'm paying 50 basically, bro. Thinking of moving to a Spanish speaking country and hadn't thought of the cost of living in Colombia. I mean, yeah, you got to think about more than the cost of living, though, bro. Because, like I said, every country has its pros and cons, and every city has its pros and cons. So, like where I was living at, there was no English, bro, like at all. Cali is not a, it's not an English speaker friendly city. Like there's a lot of foreign people because it's like the capital of the salsa, right? So there's a lot of European people that come and stuff. And so like if you go to like the little international club, Topa Londra, like there's people that speak English. But if you going through the city and stuff, it's not no tourist city. If you're in the heart of the city, nobody speaks English. Nobody, bro. They're not gonna understand you if you speak English. They're just gonna be like, you're not from here. So uh that's something to think about. Do you want to be in a place where you can't get help in English even if you want to? You know what I'm saying? In Medellin, I know I haven't been there, but I know it's a tourist hotspot. I know people there speak English, bro. And I know they probably cater better to English speakers, even if the locals hate it. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and even that, what Rob just said, maybe not the emergency fund so much, but bro, when I got hospitalized, I had to I had to do all of that paperwork. Me and my wife had to do all of that paperwork. We had to answer all these questions in Spanish, bro. There's no English. They can't say like, let me get you a translator. Like, no, bro. Do you want to have surgery or not? You need to answer these questions. You got a history of this. Do you got this? Have you ever done this? And like that shit was rough, bro. Like I speak decent Spanish and I'm like, damn, this is medical Spanish and this is you've been to the hospital in your own language before, so you kind of know what you expect to hear and stuff like that. But I've never been to a hospital in Spanish, so a lot of the questions I'm just like, wait a second, what does that mean exactly? And then they kind of like rephrased it, and I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, that's fine. And I'm like, damn, like this is a lot, bro. Especially while I'm sitting there with my legs all broken and shit. But that's something to think about, bro. If you have an emergency and you ain't gonna be able to use English to express yourself, you know what I'm saying? What happened to Dre? It's been like a month or so since I talked to him, but he was doing well the last time I talked to him. He was teaching English out there in Cali, so I don't know exactly what he's doing right now. He should still be teaching because he was on like a year contract. So, but yeah, Cali's a cool city, but like I said, you ain't gonna be speaking of English out there. The Spanish is tough. A lot of você, a lot of usted. You know what I'm saying? So if you're very, very low intermediate, it might be tough for you to understand. You know, and the thing about me, bro, is like I don't like being in positions where I can't tell if I'm in danger. You know what I mean? And so
I just wouldn't want to be somewhere and I don't even know if someone next to me is like lining me up because I can't understand what they're saying. You know what I mean? So
I didn't want to go to Colombia until my Spanish was really good.
So when I moved out there, like I felt confident, and when I got there, I felt confident. I mean, it was definitely different.
It's definitely different when everyone around you.
It's native and there's no English going on. It's a totally different feeling. It's very strange because it wasn't like vacation or something. You know what I mean? It's just straight up. This is life now. So just you gotta learn all the little words for everything you want, bro. It's the stuff that you don't think about that gets you. You know what I mean? It's like you know how to say I want to eat this, I want this, I want this. You don't think about how to say like I don't even know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
You get there and you find out. You're like, damn, I don't even know how to say this shit, bro. What other cities that I look into? I didn't really look into that much because my boy and his family were in Cali. I wanted to be somewhere.
where I had people looking out for me. You know what I mean? So like even if something did happen to me, I could go to Will's house. You know what I'm saying? Like imagine if I would have got uh robbed or something and I had nothing on me. Bare minimum, I could be like, I gotta hop on a bus, go to Will's house.
And get him to call my people or something like that.
But like if I didn't know anyone out there, what do you do after you get stripped? You know what I mean? Like you have to figure it out. And I didn't want to.
So I had looked into a couple of places like Manizales and even Medellin. It was on my mind at one time, but I'm like, hell no, bro. I don't want to go to no place where.
Every American is going. So
Was there any place that offered classes in Colombia? What you mean, like Spanish classes? I don't know. I wouldn't have taken them if they did. So
that's not something I would have seen.
I think somebody else asked me something like that before. I think it might have been helping with words, but I mean, it's probably like if someone asks you, are there English classes in America? There probably are. I don't know where they are because I don't take them. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's the same way. I'm sure.
There are Spanish classes somewhere, but I wouldn't know where they were at.
So only thing I knew where it was for sure places to eat.
The bank, ATM machines. What else did I know for sure? Grocery stores, my gyms, those places I could get to.
But yeah, man, all of that stuff is it's just different, man. Like I said, it's different. Everything's just different, bro. It's real different living somewhere where everything's just totally different from how you grew up. Lafayette, I don't really want to learn any other languages. If I was gonna learn another language, it would be Portuguese. But I can't really say that I want to learn it. There's been no motivation to learn it, and that's the biggest thing to me. That's what I tell everybody. Like you have to have an important reason that you want to learn a language, or else you're just gonna stop. Like for me, when I was learning Spanish, bro, I made it important to myself because there were so many people in my life that spoke Spanish, and I'm like, bro, I'll never be able to connect with them on a real level if I don't learn Spanish. You know what I'm saying? My wife's mom and her dad. Yeah, they can speak some English, but you could never have a real conversation with them if you don't speak Spanish.
My client that I told you that got me started, she didn't speak English. I was like, bro, I can't
Really service her fully if I don't speak Spanish because I can't really talk to her about her goals. I can't really talk to her about her motivations and stuff like that. Like just writing a program is not.
being a good trainer. Like I need to know why you're trying to do this. I need to know what makes you fail, what has caused setbacks in the past, and all that kind of stuff.
And I couldn't talk about it, bro. So I was like, nah, bro, I gotta go hard. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then I had my boy Will.
Uh, and so the fact that that was one of the things too. I literally set that up like that on purpose
So that me and him started talking and that I would feel bad if I abandoned him.
You know what I'm saying? He told me that Colombia was not offering them nothing during the quarantine. And I said, bro, we can help each other out. I can give you money. You can speak to me in Spanish. And so I wasn't just about to dip out on him and be like, yeah, sorry, bro. Don't feel like it. Like, I was like, nah, bro. Like, until the economy's back up and running, I'm going to help my boy out. So I just kept going because it was important to me. For Portuguese, I don't know anyone that speaks Portuguese, bro. And so I just wouldn't have any motivation to do it on the days that I don't feel like doing it. Tiff Dub dice, ahora estoy aprendiendo español con ChatGPT. ¿Y cómo te va? But yeah, maybe Portuguese if I find a reason. If I find a real reason. Do I talk with my wife in Spanish? Almost never, bro. When we were in Colombia, we did when we were outside. Just because like you don't want to draw attention to yourself. Or if we're talking to people that speak Spanish. So when we talk to Will, like if we're on FaceTime with him, we speak to each other in Spanish. Or when we were in Colombia, we spoke to each other in Spanish when Will was with us. And even then, once we like when we were super, super, super cool with him, like that's really family. We just like, hey, bro, you just gonna have to deal with it. Like we speaking English to each other, so we're not talking shit about you or nothing. We just it's more comfortable for us to speak to each other in English. When we talk to her mom, we speak in Spanish because her mom is more comfortable speaking in Spanish. So it's just like that. I always prefer to speak to people who are bilingual because then you could fully express yourself. Any expression you want to say, any joke you want to make, they're going to get both sides of it. Whereas, like, someone that only speaks Spanish, I actually find it easier to flow when someone only speaks Spanish. But then it's like, there's some stuff you be wanting to say in English, and you're like, man, you're not even going to get that shit, bro. And vice versa. Sometimes I just be like, damn, bro, you only speak English. Like, I can't make this complex Spanish joke with you. Do I plan to teach my kids Spanish? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just gonna force them, bro. My dad tried to force me with Arabic, but he went about it the wrong way. He tried to incentivize me instead of just forcing me. I'm gonna force my kids. Like we're gonna have Spanish weeks or Spanish days. I don't know how we're gonna set it up yet. But it's just gonna be like, bro, you're not gonna get anything you want if you don't speak to me in Spanish. You're gonna have to tell me you want it in Spanish. You're gonna have to say you want this. You're gonna have to. I'm not gonna respond to you if you don't speak in Spanish. We're gonna be like this whole week. That's how I think I'm gonna do it. I think we're gonna have Spanish week, English week, or maybe days, weekends, something like that. But it's gonna be strict. It's like when you get older, maybe you could decide. But as a kid, I'm only gonna speak to you in Spanish, and you're gonna have to respond to me in Spanish. When did I feel I was fluent? That's really hard to say, man, because like fluency like ebbs and flows. Like, bro, even now, bro, like anybody would say I was fluent, but there's just days where I'm talking to my coworkers and I'm like, bro, what the fuck am I even trying to say, bro? Like, do I even speak Spanish? But I would say I felt fluent. I made a video about it. It was either I think it was at like the 1.5 year mark or the 2 year mark, somewhere around there. My barber, rest in peace, Joel. We were at the gym and my car like wouldn't start, and he said he had a guy that could help me because it was a Sunday and none of the mechanics were working or nothing, and he said I'm gonna send him to you right now. Bro pulled up, no English. And I was like, Joel, you didn't tell me he don't speak English, bro. He like, you good, you speak Spanish. And I'm like, yeah. And so I really had to talk to the dude in nothing but Spanish. Dudes asked me questions about a tow truck, my engine, and all kinds of stuff. And it was rough, but like I did it. You know what I'm saying? He fixed my car and like I had to take him to AutoZone or whatever the fuck that shit's called. I don't know shit about cars, bro. So he wanted me to ride with him to AutoZone to get these parts. So he was like, I'm gonna take you. I said I took him. He took me and he said, you pay for the parts. We go back. I'm gonna put the parts in, blah, blah, blah. And when I got done with that, like my brain was cooked. But I was like, oh shit, bro, like I really just handled a business transaction in Spanish, you know what I'm saying? Good, I'm level A2. I've been studying every day for almost 2 months now. I even changed my languages in my phone to Spanish. Changing the language on your phone is like one of the best things you could do, to be honest. But yeah, just keep practicing. This is the first time I've seen you in here, but what I always tell people, because I teach English to Spanish speakers too, I always tell them you should be able to say your daily routine in the present tense, and then you should be able to say it from like this point. So I say, I woke up at this time, I ate at this time, blah, 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 for the whole day. And then go back and do it from the beginning of the day. Like, I will wake up at this time, I will eat at this time, I will blah, 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 blah. If you could speak about your whole day backwards, forwards, and in the present, you'll be able to have decent conversations. The better I get in Spanish, the more I discover I don't know shit. Yeah, bro, that's just like that's a regular philosophy thing, bro. That's not even just languages, that's everything. Um Damn, what is that? What is that graph called? The Dunning-Kruger effect. It's like it's like this. You start learning something and you think you're an expert in the beginning. And then you go into the pit of despair. That's usually like the intermediate plateau or whatever, but you just get to a point where you're like, damn, I don't know shit. Actually, I kind of suck at this. And then slowly you get out of that pit with time. And you get to a point of competence. But yeah, that's normal, bro. Like, if you're in that place where you're starting to realize you don't know shit, that's good. That means you're actually pretty close to discovering something. You're welcome. And if you got any other questions, I'll try my best to help. But yeah, that's it's normal, man. Even me, man. I read some pretty heavy books in Spanish. And it's like I'll see a word and I know what it means in context. And I'm like, huh, that's interesting. I never seen that word before. And what's funny is like after I see it, it's like I see it everywhere. And I'm like, that's so weird that this is such a common word. And it's like my first time seeing it after like 4 or 5 years. So, but it's kind of like, I think me and Mike Ben were talking about this one time. I don't remember if it was on a video or in real life or what, but there's a lot of things that we learn as kids in books and fairy tales or whatever that you really never say again, but you know them. You know what I mean? And you wouldn't have any trouble understanding it if someone else said it, but someone that's learning is not gonna know it. So like, in English you can say thingamabob, thingamajig, whatever. It's not something you say all the time, but if someone says it, you're not gonna be like, thingamabob, what's that? Thingamajig. Or even like a elf or a fairy. It's just little stuff like that. When is the last time you said elf or dwarf? Maybe 20 years ago. Who knows? But you know it though, because you learned it. And that is what will happen. The more you read in Spanish, the more you have conversations. You just learn little words, and you're like, damn, how's this my first time hearing this, bro? I think I'll buy books like Harry Potter in Spanish to try something challenging, like you said. Yeah, there's someone in the in the WhatsApp group that's reading Harry Potter out loud every single day. Actually, I'm about to fire him up. I don't think he sent us Harry Potter today. But it's good. Reading out loud helps your flow. It helps you realize what you can't pronounce and stuff like that. So, and Harry Potter's a good series. It has some good vocabulary up in there, and there's a lot of dialogue. That's what's good about Harry Potter because it's stuff that you would actually use in real life. It helps you learn how to speak to groups and stuff like that. Like that's another thing too. I'll speak for males specifically. If you're a boy and you're learning Spanish, you probably only talk to boys. You probably only imagine yourself talking to a dude, and it's like you don't ever think about how to conjugate when you're talking about a female or a group of females, which is totally different. Or just giving commands to a group. Like someone in the group the other day, they addressed the group and they said dime, and I'm like, well, it wouldn't be dime because you're speaking to a group.
And he was like, "Oh, I never thought about that before." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you only learn from practicing. Like you literally have to get out in the field, and someone just gonna be like, that's not how you do that."
That's how I know you're fluent using context clues.
Yeah, it's sometimes you can't, honestly. If you're reading something complex enough,
Sometimes you have to look it up. It's same thing in English, Sometimes you're just like, I kind of know what this means, but this is a tough sentence, so I need to look it up. Like if y'all ever read Shakespeare and shit like that, sometimes you could get lost up in that.
that's the kind of books I read in Spanish too, and I'm like, but it's a little too poetic. Do I have a Spanish book recommendation? No, I'm not, bro. When I recommend books to people in either language, it's like you should be reading stuff that you like. I don't think it's good to get recommendations from people, especially without telling them what you like, because if the book sucks,
It's gonna be hard to read it, bro. You just need to find something that's interesting. Like I read a lot of autobiographies about boxers and stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's interesting to me.
or what's the last book I read? The last book I actually finished was like a Colombian crime. It's literally called Colombian Psychopath, and it's like
It takes place in Cali actually, and it's about a serial killer.
so it's really good. And I started reading it when I was in Colombia, and I finished. I think it was like right when I left or right when I got here. But it would actually give some context to some words that I would hear every day in the streets when I was out there, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know this is like kind of what they were saying. So that was super interesting to me at the time. But if someone would have recommended me a book about something that I don't like, I just wouldn't have wanted to finish it. You know what I mean? So, hey, y'all, I'm getting off at 11:30 for real. It's late. I was supposed to get off at 10:30, and y'all tricked me here with good conversation. Do 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 do. But yeah, man, if any of y'all want to join the group,
Like I said, just join, just speak, just be active. Watching people, I don't think that no is supposed to be there.
yeah, listening always helps.
I thought I put the link in the chat. Hold on. Let me scroll up. Pretty sure I did. Oh, you know what? My other page isn't an admin, so it probably didn't show up. That's crazy. Da, 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 da. Hold on, let me make myself an admin. If I even can. Come on, bro. Hold on. Oh, yeah, Salvador Sanchez. He was a GOAT, bro. It's really not letting me post this link. Hold on. I'm gonna have to comment a dot. All right, now I'm gonna make myself an admin. Now I should be able to post the link. Do 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 do. Ah, it worked.
Tiff Dub, I wouldn't say you shouldn't watch non-natives,
But maybe limit that. I think it's better to watch natives because non-natives are gonna maybe say a lot of weird things that you wouldn't normally say, or make a lot of mistakes, and you won't know that they're mistakes. So
Actually, that's one of the problems with like most of the people that I teach English to are Colombians. And they might have like a decent level of English, but they learned from another Colombian. So just imagine the first generation, they already have an accent because
they're in another country learning, maybe by themselves off a computer. I don't know, however they learned.
the second generation is slightly pronouncing it different than the first generation. So it's an even worse accent. And they don't know because that Colombian person can understand them. Like if you said something in Spanish in a bad accent and a native couldn't understand you, I probably would understand you because I'm like, oh yeah, they're probably saying it like this because they're thinking about it in English. But so yeah, a lot of times like I'll have someone that's like a really pretty decent, like they have a really good vocabulary, but they'll say something and I'm like, what? And they say it like 5 times and then they have to type it. And I'm like, oh yeah, we don't pronounce that like that in English. All right, good, Rob. I don't know what the fuck I was trying to say. All right, Rob. Have a good night, man. I'm about to go to bed soon too. I'm about to get out of here in 2 minutes. But yeah, definitely.
You can't copy the link. I wonder why. You can't just click it.
It is somewhere on my page. If you go on the community tab on my page, um, it's definitely somewhere on there. But you know what I might be able to do?
Nah, actually, I don't know. That'll be difficult.
But what I will do, and I don't think this live will actually publish until tomorrow or something. But what I'll just do is I'll put the link in the description.
Of this live. So when you click on this live tomorrow or something, you obviously don't have to watch it because you're already on here.
Just open a video, go to the description, and the link will be up in there. If you can't find it on the community tab right now, it's probably easier to just go on the community tab. I remember when I first posted it, it was like a big, I literally posted like the WhatsApp QR code for it and stuff and the link. And I don't post that much stuff on my community tab, so you might have to go like 6 or 7 posts down, but you should be able to see it. Yeah, that sounds equal to the blind leading the blind. That's basically what it is. But like I said, they'll have very decent vocabulary. They just, the accent's like,
Not understandable.
and
I'm about to get off real soon, but my birthday's Wednesday, so I might
mess around and do another live on Wednesday night just because it's my birthday. So we'll see. But if not, y'all know y'all can always comment on my videos. If you need help with something, you can email me. You can follow me on another social media. If you follow me on another social media like Instagram or something, I will respond to your message. I just don't get on YouTube that much. And then if you join the WhatsApp group, I'm in there 24/7, man. So you can send a question, send whatever you want, whenever you want. But I'm about to get off of here. Y'all have a good night. Peace.